Hello, and welcome to the Mirrored Muse podcast, a sanctuary for the soul and a spark for the revolutionary spirit, where our truth is reflected, our radiance remembered, and our spirit set free. I'm your host, Whitney Amber, and together we'll journey into the depths of what it means to awaken, embody, and expand as the muse of our own life. Through soulful storytelling, raw reflections, guided practices, and revolutionary conversations, this podcast is here to truly meet you in your own becoming. So, let's take a deep breath, soften our edges. It's time to step into the mirror. This is your invitation to rise. Hello, love. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Mirrored Muse. I want to talk about something today that I think a lot of people are feeling subtly and maybe not wanting to talk a lot about, or are actually naming it and just have no idea how to get back on track. And it's this subtle sense of disconnection from yourself. Maybe it's not even subtle, maybe it's very loud. But it's like you're going through your life, you're doing the things, you're showing up, and something just feels off. It's truly that feeling of just not feeling like yourself. And what's interesting is most people naturally just try to think their way out of that feeling. They try to analyze it, fix it, figure it out, which obviously keeps us in the headspace. When the truth is, you cannot think your way back to connection. You must feel your way back. The heart space and body have to be activated and engaged in this dialogue of disconnection. Both and, heart and body. There's nothing to do with the headspace in that equation. And this has been coming up for me in a really interesting way recently. As I'm recording this, I'm in Nashville, which is where I've spent a little shy of a decade of my life in the most transformational years. And so, I want to ask you, do you ever visit environments or locations that really activate past versions of yourself? Like how you used to navigate the world and past versions that lived disconnected? Okay, well, there's the backdrop, because for me, that's Nashville. And so, being back here for a bit it's just been super activating. And since the city holds so much history, it also holds the version of me that used to move purely from constant proving energy. Guys, I'm talking performing times 10, staying in the headspace so much until over intellectualizing all the emotions and just everything unfolding, just so completely disconnected. Also, just constantly trying to be enough, be chosen, and be seen. And what's really wild is I have done so much work over the last few years, especially since I moved from Nashville. Like, genuinely, my life is so different, and the way I see myself is different. But being back here, naturally, memory lane just opens up and can seem a bit haunting at times. And, I realized something that I feel like we just don't talk a lot about, and that's just because something gets activated again doesn't mean that we haven't healed it. I really think sometimes we're brought back into the same environment so that we can see how differently we move now. And then you notice, oh, I don't abandon myself anymore. I don't perform the same way. I don't outsource my power. Oh, and I also don't grip or chase or overextend, maybe even people please the way I used to. And honestly, what's really being activated at the root of it is worthiness. I'm rereading the book, The Creative Act, and I came across the definition of worthiness, which literally is alignment with who we truly are. So if worthiness is the alignment with who we truly are, if we think about when we are living disconnected, then what's naturally going to bubble up? Fears or wounds around worthiness, around not being worthy for insert a million different things, right? Let me tell you, it's uncomfortable, and I have been right in the thick of it. And naturally, as life would have it, and the universe seems to serve me since I've started this podcast, is I do not just talk the talk. Like every single time I talk about something on here, I'm immediately put right into the scenario in life that makes me walk the walk and show up. And it's just, yeah, so I'm not shocked that this is my reality, and that the last few days have unfolded the way they have. Also, with the worthiness component, there's also this attached needing to prove things that come with that, you know? And so, anyways, this is where the conversation about disconnection really just gets super real, because it's one thing to recognize, oh, this is old energy, but it's another thing to stay connected to yourself while being inside of all this recognition, right? And inside of all of this energy actually coming up, and the thoughts and the emotions that come with it, you know? So, what I've been noticing is that reconnecting to yourself in those moments has so much less to do with our mindset and way more to do with our body. Like, even yesterday, instead of trying to shift my energy or overthink what all this means, of just everything that I was feeling, I didn't sit down to do a spiritual practice. I didn't, sit down to do any of the normal rituals that I normally do. It's almost like I had this feeling of not having the capacity to do that, you know? I literally just slowed down. I cuddled sweet little Loretta, which is my best friend's dog that I've been dog sitting. I noticed my breathing. Guys, I literally walked outside barefoot and just felt my feet on the ground and the sunshine on my face. Oh, and I stopped. All of the narratives of the past that painted vivid memories of who I used to be here. And I brought all of that energy, all of my energy, back to the present moment, the now. And I literally asked myself, what would actually feel good for me right now? Because the old version of me in this city, the disconnected, masculine, corporate hustler, would have immediately gone into distraction, chasing, or forcing mode, you know? And that just gets us nowhere. But the version of me that I am now, she stays. She is embodied, and she feels the emotions coming up. She doesn't distract herself immediately, because she knows all the things that are trying to move through her are trying to move her more towards alignment. And the more I feel, the more present I am. And I think that is actually the real shift. It's not becoming a completely different person, but being in the same place and making the empowered choice not to abandon yourself. And honestly, this is where reconnection, it's so powerful. This is what reconnecting to yourself actually looks like, if we're being honest. It's not perfect, it's not aesthetic, and it's not curated. It literally just requires our presence. And let me just say, overthinking, we all do it all the time. It's not bad. It's actually just our mind trying to create safety, and it's trying to solve, to protect, and just make sure you don't get it quote unquote wrong, as if, again, there's this right or wrong choice to be made, which I just don't believe in. But that's kind of how we're wired, and especially conditioned. But again, overthinking keeps you in your head. And true connection not only lives but thrives when you're in your body. So often, this can look like replaying conversations over and over again to literally the point of exhaustion, trying to make the right decision, again, as if there's a wrong one, which I don't believe is the case. But that's what the mind likes to create out of fear. And also, this looks like overanalyzing how something should feel instead of noticing how it actually does. And this definitely keeps you busy and so distracted, but it does not bring you home and back into your body. Because connection always rekindles from feeling, awakening your senses. That's why when people say, oh, I'm feeling myself, cue Nicki Minaj and Beyonce somebody, please. Because it literally means I'm so connected to who I am. I'm so full of connection. Yeah, actually, I am feeling myself. And that's not a bad thing. This is why I like to talk about sensuality. Sensuality is the magic component in the day and time that we live. So I'm going to talk about it here in this conversation because I think this word has been completely misunderstood. Sensuality is not an act. It is not a performance. It's not how you look. It's not how you're perceived. It's not something you turn on for someone else. Sensuality is presence in your body, period. And yeah, you might be so present in your body that it turns you on. That's the whole goal. But there is no external party in the basics of sensuality. Please hear me say that. It's simply awareness. It's actually tasting and smelling the aroma of your coffee while feeling its warmth radiate through the mug and onto your hands, instead of just habitually drinking it while scrolling on your phone. It's feeling your feet hit the ground when you walk. It's being in a moment instead of rushing through it to get to the next one. You don't need a candle, you don't need a playlist or a full moon to feel connected to yourself. And trust me, I love all of those things, don't get me wrong. But in all reality, you need like 10 seconds of actually being where you are. And I know that sounds simple, but it's also the thing we've been the most disconnected from. Because we've been taught and conditioned to live in our minds, which is very masculine, which by default keeps us in masculine energy, not in our beautiful, juicy bodies, which requires tapping into our feminine energy. And tapping into our feminine energy, we've talked about this before, it takes practice because we do live in a masculine-dominated world, and that's all shifting. Anyways, but at this point, there's also another reconnection route that is tied to astrology. So this is where astrology can again become really practical. Because your Venus, yes, we love her for love and aesthetics, but the planet Venus is also, it's your body's compass. Venus is the natural ruler of the zodiac sign Taurus. The Taurus archetype is very sensual. It's long game oriented. It's grounded. It's luxurious feminine beauty type of vibe. Okay. She's what feels good, what feels natural, what feels like you. Venus also tells us how we find beauty and harmony in the world. She's your internal yes. And when you're disconnected from yourself, you start overriding that. So this is why it's so important to know, like, where does your Venus sign fall in your chart? And what does that mean? How do you find or create beauty and harmony in the world? Because all of that allows you to come back and reconnect to yourself. And when you're disconnected from yourself, you start overriding that. You say yes when your body is telling you very clearly, girl, no. You stay in environments that feel off. You make excuses for the red flags your body is clocking. You move at a pace that doesn't actually work for you. And over time, that creates distance, obviously. So reconnecting is simply about listening again to what feels nourishing, what feels draining, to what feels like ease and what feels like resistance. Your Venus isn't about who you're attracted to. I mean, yes, but not solely at all. It really speaks to what your body is asking of you so that you can become more present in your life. And also, like, let's zoom out on a collective level right now, because this isn't just a you thing, it isn't just a me thing. We've been conditioned this way. We've been taught to prioritize logic over intuition. That's masculine. Productivity over presence. Again, masculine. External validation over internal alignment. Again, masculine. So, of course, you feel disconnected sometimes. This is something that has to be cultivated and practiced. Our devotional for thriving in a masculine world is sensuality. So, no, you didn't lose yourself. You were just taught to look everywhere else first. So, I'm sure because this happens when we're disconnected, it's like, oh my God, where do I even start to reconnect, to get back to myself and in my body? And not just get there, but how can I trust that, right? Trust being in that space when I'm not used to being there. That's the real test. So let's make this really simple. Because coming back to yourself doesn't have to be this big, overwhelming, dramatic process and all the things. No, it can happen in the smallest moments. I like to call this the return. And it literally just looks like pausing. Just pause for a second and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Not what should I feel? Not what do I want to feel? Just what's actually here in my energy in this very moment. What am I feeling right now? Then drop into your body. Where do you feel it? Can you touch it? Can you locate it in your body? Where do you feel it? Is it tight? Is it open? Is it heavy? Is it light? Then I want you to ask, what would feel 5% better right now? Just 5% better right now. Not perfect case scenario. Just slightly more aligned. And that might look like taking a breath, taking a bath, stepping outside to feel the rain or sunshine on your face and body. It could be drinking water. It could be saying no or setting a boundary. Or it could simply just giving yourself permission to slow down. Reconnection, guys, doesn't come from a life overhaul. It comes from listening in the small moments and trusting what you feel. Trusting what your body intelligence is telling you. We have one job. We have one job in this life, in this world that we live. And that is to listen and be aware of our bodies, what it is telling us at all times, and to listen. We must listen. So, if you've been feeling a little off, a little disconnected, it's okay. I think it's everywhere right now because we're all being called to shift more into an aligned state of being, which may no longer look like working, living, being in the old systems that we've grown up in, okay? You're simply being invited back home in your body because once you become reconnected, everything else starts to unfold. So come back into your body, back into your awareness, back into yourself. And I want to leave you with this. You're allowed to trust what your body is telling you. Please, God, I'm begging you. Trust what your body is telling you. Clarity doesn't always sound a certain way. It's very often that tiny split second of a ping of insight. And you don't need to become someone new. You're perfect as you are. Just listen to yourself. You just need to return. And if this is resonating and you're realizing like, okay, I don't actually know what alignment feels like for me. This is exactly why I created the Love, Money, and Magnetism reading in my offers. Because it breaks down your Venus, your patterns, your natural rhythm in love, in money, in the way you relate to yourself. So you're not second guessing. You're understanding your own blueprint so that when your body speaks to you, there's alignment there. There's an anchor point. There's resonance. And having both the blueprint and the body knowledge, those two things are exactly what allow us to start trusting the information we're receiving. Because, guys, the goal isn't to follow someone else's formula, which we see everywhere on social media. It's to trust your own and know that everything about you, everything about the desires in your heart, it is so intentionally designed. So thank you for being here as always. I love you. I'm wishing you a beautiful week, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for trusting me with your time today, for joining this conversation moment, this mirror and movement of remembering. Feel free to keep this conversation going in the comments, and if this episode moved or sparked something within you, I'd be so honored and jazzed if you'd subscribe to the podcast, share it, leave a review, or maybe just invite a friend into the conversation. You can also join our Radiant community on Instagram at the Mirrored Muse, where you'll find more reflections, resources, announcements, and events. So be sure to give us a follow to stay in the know. And until next time, stay wild, stay soft, and never forget you are the Muse.